coming up. It's going to be mostly about the U.S. election. However, you know my heart. I'm all about tourism, traveling around South Africa, and just bringing the word that, hey, it's a great place to travel to. But just stay tuned. You're going to see this interview coming up. Enjoy.
Challenge team durch den Orange did. His family are disturbed by his untimely death, but say they have forgiven those responsible for his killing.
Joe Biden will become the 46th president of the United States, and Kamala Harris will be the U.S.'s first black and South Asian vice president and first woman to hold that office. To reflect on the 2020 race to the White House, I'm joined by Mark Blanton, an African-American living in Centurion in South Africa.
Absolutely.
Mark, thank you so much for coming through to the studio tonight.
No
Let's
problem.
just begin with your reaction to yesterday. I mean, I was on air at the time. I tell you, the scenes that we saw coming out of the United States, it was something like no other.
Absolutely. It was interesting. All our phones started blowing up, and a lot of friends from the U.S., they were really relieved and happy with the results. Those out of Atlanta, Washington, D.C., New York, people, are friends of ours, were really excited.
And talking about a sense of relief that you say some of them had when they called you, were they not also concerned about the fact that it was such a close race, especially looking at 70 million people voting for Donald Trump?
Absolutely. We did have a big turnout. A lot of people felt like they needed to do their part, and so the concern was very high. I know a lot of people, even on my own personal social media, they were really like, you know, there's still a strong possibility that Donald Trump could win because we know the makeup in the U.S.
And when you look at, this particular result, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris,
Correct.
Some people have said that there'll be a tough road ahead. But do you think this could signal a different America than that under President Donald Trump?
Well, I will say America, has spoken, and the story of America is still being written. So we will make a turn. There's always been turns in U.S. history, and this right here would definitely be just another turn. So it will be difficult. Anytime you're the leader of the free world, it's always difficult. But the team that he's going to build around him is going to be very special, and I'm positive that things will return back to normal, and then his agenda of what he wants to do, especially with COVID and things like that, will take precedence over everything else.
And certainly, COVID-19 is really a pandemic that, the world is still grappling with. But another thing that is going to be very important from him is the tone that he takes going forward, particularly, given the tone that the U.S. has had
Correct.
in the previous, regime. So certainly, it's going to, be important as to how he delivers his message, particularly to those who didn't vote for him.
Absolutely. I will say, as Americans, we will come together behind the leadership and behind the president. The things that Donald Trump was able to do because he was president, and people will follow the president. Now we have a new president, a new vice president, and of course an entire new administration that's going to form around him. With that being said, with him being the president, and his first day one action is to handle the pandemic, that's ultimately the support that we're going to have.
And, Donald Trump continues to tweet saying that this was, if I can put it loosely, a stolen election,
Sure.
Basically, because he's still alleging voter fraud. He's still, saying that something is not right here. And his team is still, saying that come tomorrow, they are going to be going to the courts. There's legal action coming. How do you think this is going to play out, particularly when you look at, that historic election that we saw in 2000? And certainly it looks like we may be back to that point again.
Well, I will say that the team around him, unfortunately, will move on. They have to move on. They have families to take care of. They got professional careers to take care of. So they're going to move on. A lot of those guys are going to go to different positions within Washington, D.C., and some of them are going to go back to their states and so forth, and basically where they just came from. And then a brand new regime is going to come in, and again, their voices will go from being heard to not being heard.
And are these messages really helping this transition, though?
Absolutely not. However, America's been through a lot over the years, especially even recently with the last 4 years. So I think as an Americans, we're very resilient. And like I said, with the new regime coming in, everything's going to focus from these messages, what did he tweet, to now what does the new leadership say? What should we be doing as a country? And that's what people have been missing for a minimum of 4 years. They've been missing that, and the American people have spoken, and they want the leadership.
And what are some of the people back home telling you their concerns are, or what they're hoping that Joe Biden is going to be dealing with, apart from the pandemic? Yesterday, we were speaking to some citizens in the United States, one of them saying that for him, at the top of the list is, economic recovery. Another one says that they would like to ensure that they can be able to run their business again, because they left South Africa to run a business in Texas. And what are some of those, your family members that are still back in the States are telling you are some of their top priorities?
I think the top priority, first, again, is to providing leadership. Where do we go? What do we do? And then number two, reinstalling the institutions that we've always counted on throughout our entire lives, and of course all the generations that came before us, things that you can rely on. And then of course on not just a national level, on an international level, just restore the confidence in America, and as far as being the leaders of the free world. That right there is some of the main concerns. On a personal note, people do want to go back to work. People do. They do need the assistance that they should be getting from the Republican Senate, and now you have a Democratic president. So with that leadership, I think everybody should be expecting things to go back to normal, and the assistance that they're going to need should be there.
Another big win, Kamala Harris certainly changing the game there. I mean, a lot of black women are coming out to say that this is a huge moment for them. And, when you really look at what this has done for America, it certainly is a historic moment.
Correct. All I can think of is there was a former president in the United States that said change is coming. And he used to say, yes, we can. I think we can figure out who that is.
I know exactly who that is.
Exactly. So things are changing. The roles that women are playing in our society is increasing, and it's not just increasing in the United States. It's a worldwide phenomenon. It's going to happen. It is what it is, and I welcome it. A lot of people welcome it. We do understand that, as a black woman in the United States, she's been marginalized. But again, she's been able to come through, and that's going to provide leadership again for those that are marginalized, not just the women, but also men, and of course all the other communities that do exist in the United States.
And Mark, when one really looks into Kamala Harris, we spoke to a U.S. citizen from Atlanta on Friday, and what she was saying was that as much as America may not be ready for a black female president, it looks like it's time for them to catch on, because this train is moving, as she described it. And really, when you look at this big moment right now, some people are saying that Joe Biden may not even serve a second term, and this could pave the way for Kamala Harris. Do you think America's ready?
I think America is ready in some ways, in some of those how can I say, city centers, large population centers where they routinely see black women doing amazing things, fabulous things. It's a no-brainer. In some of the non-population centers, they don't see it as often. It's still dominated by the status quo. So, but as time is going on, as you see, a lot of people are moving to the city centers simply because of jobs and things like that. So as time goes on, they will see that strong black woman doing things, and then they would just say all black women can do these things. And so it's going to be normal at some point, but they are prepared to get on board.
And looking at the Make America Great Again rhetoric that has filled the United States for the past 4 years,
Correct.
It has been given some landing ground. Some people still believe in it. Why do you think that is, though?
Well, it's always been there. It's always been there. It wasn't popular. They didn't have anybody trumping it up for them, per se. But over the last few years, they have people trumping it up for them. And there are those who felt that way. What he was saying were things that people felt for generations. And they had an opportunity to actually voice those opinions. And they had a leader, because leadership matters, to be able to say, you know what, make America great again. It's still kind of ambiguous exactly what he meant. But at the same time, those that were in the know were in the know. And this is how they felt. And those people still exist in the United States, and they're going to still be there. But hopefully they realize, you know, now it's not divisive time. We're all Americans, and the only way that we're going to be able to be successful is just be an American, not just be this type of American or that type of American, but just be an American.
I spoke to a 16-year-old here on the show who said that she really loves Joe Biden. She really believes that he's the right man for America at this time. But she said that there's one thing she does not agree with him on. It doesn't look like he's radical enough when it comes to issues of climate change. You know, she says while he's going to join, he's talking about the Paris Agreement one more time, but for her, she wants radical change when it comes to issues of the climate. Do you agree with her, or do you think that, you know, it's a wait-and-see approach? I
would personally say it's a wait-and-see approach, and there might be a third option out there, based off the science, based off what's given to him, based off what's given to him in those briefings. Then the urgency will be there. What it was 4 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer, it may not be, but now things could have changed. And so the president and the vice president gets several briefings, and if come to find out that it's a lot worse than that we projected, I'm sure the president of the United States will take action to make sure that people are safe.
And when you look at of course, relations, I mean, Africa has been coming out, African leaders have been coming out to congratulate Joe Biden and saying that they do certainly hope that this is going to usher a new wave of, you know, working together and really making sure that Africa and the United States get to reestablish some kind of the relations that may have been fractured, particularly, you know, in the last 4 years. What do you see when it comes to how the U.S. is going to be, you know, dealing with issues around Africa?
Well, I think, you know, Africa, especially South Africa, is an extreme emerging market. They bring a lot to the table, and they continue to bring a lot to the table. If in his briefings, you know, talking to the trade representative who kind of does all the trade deals for the United States, and if, just like anybody else, if Africa, especially South Africa, can market themselves as a willing partner, I'm 100% sure that Joe Biden, President Joe Biden-elect, will be more than willing to listen. And again, from my interactions with him myself, he's a very kind individual, and he listens to his advisors. And
I know that you are someone, as you say, that has interacted with him. You know, some people have said that he may be too much of a negotiator, because some people see him as a man who listens, really who listens and gets to understand. Like right now, when you listen to his messaging, he's calling on all Americans to unite. He says that he's not the president of those who voted for him only, but he's the president of those who didn't vote for him as well, because they're also Americans. But others have said that this might be an approach that then cripples him, because he may just over-negotiate things instead of implementing. Do you get a sense that that could be?
Well, I will say, being inside the Beltway, what that means is inside the D.C. establishment. A lot of people that he's going to be working with is people that he already knows, either through previous administrations, through his time as a senator, and so forth. Inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C., there is a lot of negotiations happening. They have to. That's just the nature of it. It's not like when Donald Trump came in and said, "This is how I want it." You saw what happened. So you must negotiate. Even if there are people who are in a less position to bargain, you still need to negotiate. You still need to listen, because inside the Beltway, that's where all the policies for the United States are made, inside that Beltway. And everybody's a known actor. People know who's who in the zoo, inside the Beltway. So it's very important that you negotiate with people, because today you're in a position of power, Donald Trump, and tomorrow you're not in a position of power. So you need to negotiate.
And Mark, as a final question from me tonight, I was reading a post on the Washington Post, and they describe him as, the men that tried twice before but did not succeed.
Sure.
And he was at some point the youngest senator, but then you move on. Fast forward, he's now the oldest man to take the Oval Office. What do you think made him right for America at this point?
Well, I think at this point, he did serve as vice president of the United States. People don't realize that the vice president of the United States just doesn't serve at the discretion of the president. He has his own agendas. He has his own staff. And so he got a lot done. So he knows what he can do. He knows if he's working when he was the vice president, to work with the president to help him with his agendas, and vice versa, things could be successful. I will ultimately say that as Joe Biden as president, he's ultimately going to go get his team. A lot of them will be a team from, I hate to say it, the former president, Barack Obama, and they're going to put together a great Democratic team so they can move forward, so America can retake its place.
I can't help but ask you this. I know I'm almost out of time. But,
fine.
Obamacare was one contentious issue, particularly
Correct.
when you look at the Republicans. And right now, he's that man, again, that finds himself in a difficult position, because some are saying that he will have a difficult time in the Senate
Correct.
to be able to convince some of those Republicans. Could we see a resurgence of Obamacare?
If they left Obamacare the way it should have been and then improved on it, then it could have gotten better. I think it was a great program. I remember the day when all the actors came to the White House, and President Obama and Michelle Obama kind of met together, and I don't know if they was praying, but they were talking, and they were having a conversation. And at this point, we didn't know if we were even going to have it. Like, this was the definitive day. But then we ultimately, with their leadership, we got Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. So I would say to you that I'm sure that his vice president is not he knows a lot about the program, and he's not interested in tearing it down. However, does it needs to be? Do we need to look at it and see how we can retool it? Absolutely.
Mark, thank you so much for your time. It certainly is a pleasure to have you in studio just to share your insights with us. We certainly do appreciate your time tonight. That was Mark Blanton, who is from the real South Africa, and certainly they are doing amazing work. I tell you, with his wife, Dr. Latasha, I tell you, they're doing amazing work here.
All right, everybody, it was great. Had opportunities to talk about politics on national TV. I absolutely enjoyed it. I could have went a little longer, had a couple of little things to say, but if you got any questions, you can always find us at The Real South Africa, and send us an email at info@TheRealSouthAfrica, and we can talk about it. But like I said again, my passion, they don't know it yet, is travel and tourism. But we're going to be back up here soon enough to talk about travel and tourism, the things that we like to do. Chat with you later.